All right. Good morning. We are starting Siman Kuf Chaf Zayin. This is the dinim of Eid Echanem on B'Yisurim. Omer L'Chavero Sifala for Omer L'Chavero Nisnas Echienach. Someone says, go touch your wine. Ihu Biyadoi Neman. Right? If it's so the question is it in his possession or is it the person who said the AIDS? Is it in the AIDS possession or is it that he's able to answer it? Biyodo lasos, he can just do it right then. Neman. Vafilu Eno ata biyado, even if it's not in his hands anymore, shkvar huchsa lebaylim. Then even Pam Rishon Shematza Yamalon Nisnasech Yenach Neman. It's the first time that he said, "Hey, you're wine, you're going to touch your wine," and he saw him, he's Neman. Even if the owner is Machishim, he's Neman. Va'im.
How can you be Makosher?
This is not true.
How do you know? It was in the friend's house.
We'll get into. I'm gonna go. This is complicated. I'm just getting. First, we're gonna go bit by bit. I'm just getting an overview over here. But we made him miyado. Lo arcane. If it's not wasn't biyado, lo arcane lo pamarisha. And he didn't say to him the first time. By the Islam. By the way, that's what happened. Shivaruhu. Amar le achar. And he told him, by the way, yeah, remember that thing you gave me a few months ago, whatever? Eino neman. Im haba machisho. If he's not Neman, if the Baal says that's not true, as long as it was Tochdei Dibur. Oh, Omer Eni Yodeah, or he says, I don't know. Okay. So we'll start bit by bit. The din by Eid Echad is Neman B'Yisurim is so the thing is by Mamanos or by Eidus Misa and things like that. Malchus, we say lo kam erechad el mamon, right? Then by echad by mamon is mechayev a shvua. So he's not. He can't be mechayev misa or mechayev malchus. The puzzle lo kam echad. So truth is in Hilchos Eidus, it's mashma from the Achronim that this is one of the makaros of lashon hara that. How's it mutter for Aiden to go ahead and go to Bezdin and say someone did something? It's Lashon Hara. Right? Okay, the Torah said you're allowed to go. He's allowed. This is Eidus. This is what it is. But Eidus, which doesn't have any sort of doesn't do anything. Toelis, right? Toelis doesn't do anything. So that's Lashon Hara. Al Guf is Lashon Hara. Now that's talking about people. Here we're talking about Isurim. We're talking about Isurim. So number one is a question of, well, how can you answer someone else's thing? Right? We saw before you can't just answer someone else's thing. And two is that there's the idea of lahatir. Now the lahatir, Eidechad lahatir, I think Taisus you might have spoken to my son last night. Taisus in Gittin, he says it's like it sounds like Pesafra, like he says by Nida she's certain nemanos. That could be okay. Yishlodim Ne'emana she had, that people have on the Isurim that say it's kosher, it's this, whatever. If they are in charge of, especially if they're in charge of the Isur, Nidas, I was Toivel, I was whatever. Over here, we're talking about a case where the aide says, okay, he's answering the wine. So why? How does he Ne'eman? So there's a few different shitas. One shita is mashma in Shulchan is Rashi is that it's biyadoi. It's that it's so biyado means. So Rashi understands biyado means that it's biyado lasos. He can go. It's amigo. Since he could have just done it, or his biyado was under his control, whatever. Since he could have just done it and he didn't, so that's type of migo. It's not like it's a general machlokas of it was migo to biyado, is it real migo or not? But that's okay. That's a different story, different thing. But over here, anyway. So Amigo is, in general, is that, he says, believe me, because I could have, because, if I'm not saying, if I wanted to lie, then I, generally, because I wanted to lie, I would have said a much better thing, airtight, and something says something airtight. This is something not so airtight, so believe me. Amigo Biodo is, believe me that this is, that like here's a case in the Gemara. Believe me that my wife's divorced because he can go ahead and give a get right there. Here, right? I can write a, because he could just give a. She's divorced. Oh, believe me here. I'll just write a get right now, since he could just do it. So there's no, it's he's Naaman. So he'll do over here. He could. He himself could do yain nesa. He could just take it and pour it for Vozar or whatever. Not that he would, but yeah. Yeah. Um, the Gemara says it's a child of Hezek Shein Nikr, and the Gemara you touch upon it here also that he can answer it himself. So since he could do the Maisa, he's Neman. This is Shitas Rashi, which seems the Shulchan Aruch goes with that. The other couple of Shitas, the Rosh says. That's bitam. The Rosh says it's bitam the Torah. That's because he's a baldovar. A person is neman on his own stuff. This is what we're going to get into. Why, if he's machish, why if a person's machish, he's neman because the Torah gave a person neman on his own stuff. Again, not negative two eighty, right? Two eighty come and say that someone's menasif yirayin, so then he can't say, "Oh, I don't believe them." That's whatever. It doesn't. We'll see that it doesn't work. But against an Eirecha, the person can say, "I don't believe you. Arbi Machish is my stuff." He has a certain amount of control of Ne'emanos on his own stuff, and that he can be Machish the aid. We'll get into it a bit more. Yeah, like we say, Hodas Baldin Kmeid and Domi. That we say that that Hodas Baldin by Mamanos is greater than even made, and we believe him more. Um, right? He's saying you're lying. Right. Yeah, I don't believe you. You're lying. Okay, we're gonna get into it in a second, a little bit more. But that's so. So the thing is that the Rosh says it's dafka because the guy was a shomer. The guy was a shomer or a pole even that. And so therefore, like he said, so in that case he's nema. We'll see why he can be machish, but that's why he's neman. And I mean, there's another, and there's another nakuda that clear is that the point is also the Eidach is Neman even neged the Cheskas Heter. So I saw the Chavos Das is interesting. He explains it a little bit differently. He comes from a different angle, and he says that the understanding is that a person is not Neman neged the Chazaka. Chazaka is stronger than one person saying, "Oh no, it's not good." But the thing is, in a case where it's biyado to change the matzav, he can change the chazaka, so it's not a strong chazaka anymore. And therefore, if it's biyado, it destroys the chazaka. If there's no chazaka on something, right? I don't know. There's something here. No one knows anything about it. A guy comes and says, "Yeah, that's also." So fine, of course, yeah, it makes sense. Of course, it's also right. No one knows anything. There's nothing to define. Why wouldn't he be neman? We don't assume a guy's lying for no reason. Um, so over here also that since it's biyada to go ahead and to make it and to answer it, so therefore the chazaka it makes it the chazaka is not strong anymore, and therefore that's why he's believed to say that believed to define what's going on over here. Um, so we'll get to it in a second. Um, so that's number one. That's number one. The other thing that the Shach brings up is biyado it means biyado now. But if it was, let's say the wine was cooked, right? And he says, before the wine was cooked, by the way, a guy touched it. Now it's not biyado to go ahead and answer it because the wine's cooked, or tell her have a goy touch it, whatever. It's not biyado to answer it anymore. He can't do yain. Then that's the yain mavushal. So therefore, he's not neman to say because it's not biyado now. Those are chokim, but that's what. So the Shach comes out. The Shach says that since that if right now it's not biyado, you can't ask for something lemafreya. For example, so I had a question. I wasn't sure is chometz biyado because you say, oh, your matzah it's chometz. Right? Well, it's baked already. It can't be chometz after it's baked. It can't be chometz. So you can't say, well, well, no, it rose too much in the factory and whatever. Even stam chametz is hard to say because it takes 18 minutes to turn into chametz. I don't know. Is that nechshav biyado? Like nisuch is right now. I don't know. I'm not certain because it's not something. It's a process. Yeah, he could have left it. I don't know if that's nechshav biyado or not. Again, he could throw. He could throw a piece of bread in your soup, and you say, okay, your soup's usher. I don't know. Also, not sure if that's considered a tarevis, like throwing isser on something that's considered biyado. Here, he's going to ask for something be'etzim, so that's why he's nema. But I don't know I don't know. I have to see. I have to look into it more. I'm not sure he'd be neman to say, there's, well, there's invisible chametz in your soup. Like, make it tasty, whatever. Believe because I could have thrown bread in. I don't know if that applies. I think only something but I'm not sure. I'm not certain. So, so the thing is, so the shachar. Well, so why is it? So why is it? So the thing is, since he was a shomer, if the guy comes Pam Rishon, and he says to him, by the way, he returns the eye, by the way, he got also or whatever. So then he's Naaman, I feel of a Baal Machisha, right? So Enechanami, you're right. How could the Baal be Machish? She can't. Because it was under the guy's control. The guy said, you weren't there, right? How, if you weren't there, you can't start saying, well, I don't believe you. What do you mean you don't believe me? Right? That doesn't work. But it says, Avavenu biyado, below Omar Kane, the Baal Pamarishon, if it's not in his hands right now. If it's in his hands right now, the guy came, by the way, something happened to your wine. So the guy came and touched it, and he's still a shomer on it. He's like, so then, it's still biyado. So the guy says, no, it can't be. It doesn't make a difference. But if it's not biyado anymore, he gave it back to the Baal. He gave it back to the Baal, and he's working there, or whatever it is. Um, and he didn't say the first time the guy came by. Let's say that the guy works in the factory. The guy comes by, the owner comes by. He didn't say anything. 2 weeks later, he said, "By the way, when you came by, it was also right." So then already he loses his ne'emanos. If the Baal's machish, because why didn't you say it's a pircha? Why didn't you say it the first time? Right? Why'd you wait? It says that below Omar came the Baal Pamarisha, Shirau, V'Amar Le Achar Eno Neman. And he tells him later he's not Neman, even Baal Machishay. Right? It's the Baal's Machishim, because the Baal again. Already it takes again. The Baal against someone who has a migo or whatever, he's not Neman. But if already there's something's funny over here. Why don't you say it the first time? There's already a pircha. There's already something shaky about his migo. So then that gives then the owner can say, no, it's not true because I own this thing and I don't really believe you. Especially because he says, I don't believe you because why don't you tell me the first time? What are you telling now? Something suspicious over here. So I don't believe you. And that's as long as the Rama adds in. As long as it's Tokdei Dibur, like the owner says, hey, that's ridiculous, right? He says it right away. Why? He says, Omer Eni Deah, or if he says, you're right, I have no idea. so he has no opinion on the matter, you know. So then also then the aid would be Naaman because why not? Aval im shasak shtika koida damya, right? But however, if the owner. Oh, right. Sorry. Correct. Right. Sorry. Made a. Right. Right. If he says any Yodea, it's also um it's not right. It's also we'll so yeah. Right. He's not any right. Any Yodea means like I have no idea whatever you say. I mean, any Yodea means like who said. Who said that'd be more the more that's a hasha. You know, any Yodea means who said. No one knows. Like whatever. So but if you're shasak, so let me say a din of shtika kol do damya. Because if it's something, what's shtika koda? If it's something, if someone goes ahead and as a general rule, if someone goes ahead and tries to destroy your things, and you're standing there quietly, like what's wrong with you? Someone comes, and that's why it's by Shcheni, a lot of different places that someone does something. Well, isn't something wrong with you, or is something, or it's not really yours, or there's something going on over here. Someone comes and tries to smash your car, or something, but hey, what are you doing? Whatever, steal your car. He don't say anything. It's something's wrong over here. So therefore, yeah, well, muscles. We get into a muscles. Right. There's a idea we'll see in a bit about an amasla. Let's see, gives an excuse as to why he was quiet, or there's an excuse why the guy didn't say it the first time. We'll get to excuses, explanations, and all these things. It's going to be a little bit later in the sif. Umalamdim haga. And we teach the guy to say, I don't believe you. Right? Then everything's fine, and don't have to worry about anything. So the Shach jumps up and he says, well, I don't understand. You tell the guy, no matter what, oh, I don't believe you. You tell him to say sheker. Just everything's mutter. Yeah, everything's rosy. So in the Shach says that the Kuz Kesef says no. The pshat is that in Bezdin or the Rabbanim, either beforehand or should teach people the din. People should understand that they are allowed to be machish. Or if your person standing there at the time, someone else is standing there, the guy says it. You can tell the guy, tell the owner. By the way, if you don't believe him, you should say something. He's not to aid him, and that doesn't mean like it's a magical thing, whatever. There are places where we do say. I mean, in Ibn Ezer, it's based on Gemara in the Darim. It says if a woman says, that by the way, I was unfaithful. So then the Baal Zachayev to believe her because the Chachamim said we'll get to it eventually, but the Chachamim say that since it's possible she's just trying to get out of the marriage that way, so therefore it's unclear. So they say that the Baal should say I don't believe you. Or Moshe even says over there that Chachamim said that he should that he has to say it. He has to not believe it. If he believes her, it's going against Chazal. Over there it says also if he doesn't believe her, she's materis, even if she knows herself. Whatever. It's a whole interesting. So we'll get into it. But upon him over here, if it's sheker, then if he's not stop saying sheker. It's really we're allowed to teach him that you don't have to believe what the guy says. If he's not machishim, if the different guy says, no, it's not true, it's lo mahani, unless, we'll see, unless there's an aid, if he's giving aidus, kilo, I was there, then we'll have to discuss a bit more about, maybe we'll get into tomorrow. We'll discuss more eight against eight. I'll have to see if it comes up later or not. But this is here. Someone else says, "No, I don't believe you," not because they saw anything, I just, that doesn't help because he's not the owner. Me'achar bailim sham, since the bailim were there, ushaiskim, and they're quiet. Well, im bailim sham, if the owners aren't there, mahani, then someone else can be machish, can be machish the aid, the other aid, and cancel out his aidus. The only reason if the bailim's quiet is that there's a ne'emanos. But if guy says, by the way, this thing's also no, it's mutter, then these things cancel out. Mm. Yesh mishikosu te erecha behachasha lav klumhu. Some say erecha behachasha, if anyone's machish, is nothing. I think we'll stop. Here. I get this part clear. There's a lot of